What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I am Caitlin Kenna Smith, and today I have an awesome conversation with one of my best friends, and actually, she was one of my bridesmaids, Mackenzie Breihan. And the best part about Kenzie's story is that it's literally a roller coaster of emotions, and just like a roller coaster of different challenges and different things that she's went through, highs and lows. And honestly, it's unbelievable to see where she was versus where she is today and where she's continuing to go. And I'm beyond proud of her, not just as a friend, but as somebody who's just watched her over the last couple of years and supported her. She went from a gymnast in high school to then being on a feeding tube in the hospital for 6 months, to then becoming a collegiate gymnast when everybody around her told her that she was stupid for trying. She believed and she went all in and she made it happen, to now running her own business, impacting thousands of lives, as well as getting her master's in clinical nutrition, and now walking away from medical school in order to go and chase her dreams. So I'm fucking proud of Kenzie, and I hope that you guys get so much value from her story, because I know that she has so much value to share. All of her info is down in the show notes below, so go follow her on Instagram. And please, guys, share this episode of the podcast, because it's one that is guaranteed to create a huge impact. Enjoy it. All right, guys, so I have one of my best friends, Mackenzie Breihan, here. I always mispronounce your last name, though, and I say this on every podcast. So how do you pronounce your last name? Did I say it right?
It actually is Brian. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably like the first time I've ever done it. And the funny thing is that when I was giving all of my bridesmaids' names to my wedding planner, she was like, who the, like Carly Zitmeister, like Tori Carbonat, like all these fucking names. It's like, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my friends.
Like they don't have last names that are normal. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Most of them are married, so it's the man's fault anyway. So
I was like, I blame Devin for sure. I mean, it's not like my maiden name. It wasn't hard, but it was easy to pronounce, McMullen. But like,
yeah. And it kind of like flows like Mackenzie McMullen, you know?
yeah, it does. But no, the way that my last name is spelled, it's weird and everybody mispronounces it. And I'm like, you know what? It is what it is.
Mackenzie B, we'll call you.
Yeah.
But well, the reason why we'll call you Kenzie, because it feels weird calling you professionally like Mackenzie. So
Feel
we
like
have
I'm
Kenzie on this podcast because she has a really cool story, and I'm all about bringing people on who have really cool, resilient stories and talk about growth, because that's really what the podcast is all about. It's like teaching people how to build their powerhouse mentality and learning from other people who have done it. I know that you're nowhere near where you want to go, but that's just how part of life. But, tell the people who you are. If I were to be like, this is Kenzie Breihan, like, what is your elevator pitch on who you are right now?
Oh, who I am right now. That's a fun one. Well, recently graduated with my master's degree in clinical nutrition. So currently working in the clinical nutrition space with a emphasis in gut health and female hormones. I'm going to be a board certified dietitian nutritionist come June. So do have my board exam coming up in June. And then also a full-time advisor in the First Form app, and the owner and creator of Team BTO, or BTO Fitness and Nutrition, where we help people create the life that they are proud of. We have helped thousands of people lose thousands of pounds, and hundreds of people come off of medications, and help them to restore their life, their happiness, their self-confidence, and truly create and live a life that they're proud of. So
Yeah. It's really cool for me to hear that from you, because when I first met you, what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago at this point? It was like, I think I want to be a doctor, so I'm going to do this medical school thing, and we'll see what happens. And I like the Facebook group that I have. It's really cool. And now it's like, this is my team. This is like what I do. I've helped thousands of people lose thousands of pounds and like step into the best version of themselves. But also, now you have the degree and you made a shift to focus on what's really the most important thing to you, and like that gut health, like that female hormone specialist, like shit, that is literally perfect for you.
it's been really fun. It's been really cool. And it's been something that has been so rewarding, because of obviously, a lot of things that I'll kind of touch on from like my own journey, but helping people to not have to go through what I went through and
Yeah.
not be a human pincushion and actually help them to get to the root cause of their problem and help them to fix it through lifestyle, dietary modifications, and adding in some specific supplementation and having the knowledge to be able to do that and to help people heal has been really, really cool. So,
Yeah. And eventually I'm going to have you back on the podcast. I'm going to say this right now so that we can talk specifically about like gut health and female hormone stuff. So like if you're down for that, I know that you are.
oh,
Want to
absolutely.
help people.
Absolutely. You know, I can nerd out on some gut health and female
Oh, and
hormones.
I'm right there with you. It'd be like a nerd power hour and it'd be so much fun for us and everybody.
Yeah.
What am I listening to?
But like, I caught none of that. Sorry. I went
Yeah.
off on a tangent there.
Over
It
my head.
happens.
But today we're going to talk about you. So let's take it all the way back to where it all began. So where do you feel like is the best place for you to start? Would that be with your gymnastics stuff?
Yeah. So I honestly, me and my three sisters grew up in competitive gymnastics. I was a gymnast from the time I was 2 and literally had in the sights of, like every young gymnast does, going to obviously either the Olympics, or once you realize you're not doing that, you decide to go on to do collegiate gymnastics. And me and my younger sister Kayla had always had the dream of going and doing collegiate gymnastics together. My your like sophomore junior year of high school is like your prime recruiting years for pretty much any college sport, but especially for gymnastics. Like, you really don't get recruited your senior year unless like you're walking on somewhere,
Mhm.
and most places don't really have spots open for seniors and things like that. And my sophomore year of high school, I was being recruited by a ton of D1 schools and had obviously verbal commitments from a lot of D1 schools for full ride scholarships. And I was at a gymnastics meet in Florida and came home. And the next day, my sister got what we thought was the flu. And then I got it the next day. And what we thought was the flu literally kind of snowballed into me being sick for over 6 months. No one really being able to tell me what was wrong with me ending up losing about 35 pounds. So imagine me being 5'5", 92 pounds soaking wet. That's where I was when they finally were like, hey, you have gastroparesis, which means partial stomach paralysis. We need to admit you to the hospital on a feeding tube, honestly, just to support your body. You've lost so much weight that you've essentially put your body into menopause. Your organs are starting to fail. My resting heart rate was like 30, and it was scary. Like, I didn't realize my health had gotten to the point that it had, and there really wasn't anything that I was able to do about it. And it was because I was really never sick enough for
Yeah.
people to take a second look at me, which was hard. Um, so I was admitted to the hospital, and they were like, you know what, you're going to be in the hospital for 2 weeks on a feeding tube, and then we'll let you go, and you're just going to have to try to like figure out how to live your life after that, and hopefully your stomach restarts. And I was like, 2 weeks, we got this. It's fine. It is what it is. Mind you, this was in the first month of my sophomore year of high school.
That's
So
crazy. That's crazy that you went from a place where you were like months earlier being recruited by D1 schools to now I'm in a hospital on a feeding tube.
yeah, it was terrifying. And 2 weeks turned into 6 months that I was in the hospital. And I got every single infection that you could possibly think of. Anything that went wrong went wrong. The tubing that was in my face, I was allergic to. So they ended up having to put an NJ tube and a GJ tube in. And this entire time, like, I anybody that knows me now knows that this is true. The only thing I was concerned about at the time was like, can I go back and do college gymnastics?
Yep.
Like, that was all I wanted, is to go back and do college gymnastics. And I was laid up in a hospital bed, weighed 92 pounds soaking wet, had a hospital pole with like 6 different machines on it with like TPN and lipids because I couldn't take anything by stomach or by mouth, and I couldn't take anything going into my stomach because my stomach was that messed up.
Yeah.
And I was literally on intravenous nutrition for a couple months at a time. And then eventually I had asked the doctors, like, what does my life look like if I like go through with getting the feeding tube moved from my face into my stomach? And they said, you know what, you're going to live your life in and out of the hospital. And I said, no, I'm not. I absolutely am not. I will not accept that. I said, what is the likelihood that I will ever go back to being an athlete? And they said, we've never had anybody do it. And I said, cool, I'm going to beat the odds. I'm going to be the first one.
Perfect.
And yeah, it was, and they literally looked at me like, no, you're not, but okay. And so
Like,
in that,
challenge accepted. Hold my beer.
I know, I was like, let's go, bring it on. Now, while all of this was going on, like, my parents didn't want me to do it.
Yeah, I'm
My
sure.
sisters had nearly watched me die and were like, Kenzie, please stop. My coaches were too afraid to try to even let me back into the gym because of my health and because of everything that I had gone through. And so it was me. It
Yep.
was me, myself, and I trying to get through all of this. So after 6 months in the hospital, I had gotten to a point where I had gained enough weight that they felt comfortable pulling me off of the feeding tube. So I think it was in December. It was literally 2 days before Christmas. It was literally all I wanted for Christmas.
Oh, and it was like that was my birthday too. And it was like close to your birthday too.
Yeah.
Christmas.
So 2 days before Christmas, I ended up having the GJ tube pulled from my stomach. And I think within about a month, it had healed up enough that they were like, look, the incision's closed, like your muscles healed back together. Like if you want to try and get back into exercise, like you can try and get back into exercise. But we highly recommend against it. And so obviously had to start very, very slow with walking, essentially had to go into like physical therapy because I hadn't done anything other than walking a hospital pole for 6 months. But it got into a point in time where I was able to get back into the gym. And the first day I got back into the gym, I tried doing a handstand, which anybody who knows me, you guys know that is my one party trick.
Mhm.
The one
Seriously
thing,
though. So
yeah,
good
the
at
one thing
it.
that like I can do with my eyes shut is walk on my hands, and I literally fell straight on my head.
Hmm.
Straight on my head because I was so weak and had lost so much muscle that I couldn't even hold up my own body weight anymore. And I just sat on the ground and cried and went home and cried. And my parents looked at me and said, are you ready to give up yet? I said, no, I'm going to get a college scholarship. You watch me. And funny thing, my dad's never paid up on this debt, but
I love this story so much.
he said, Kenzie, if you ever get a college scholarship for gymnastics, I will literally run down the street butt ass naked. And I said, bet, let's make it happen. So it took about a year and a half of training and going in and doing extra weights, extra cardio, extra strength, extra practices, and things like that for me to actually get to a point where I was strong enough to be able to compete again. And my senior year of high school, I did end up competing at level 10 for gymnastics and ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Lindenwood in St. Charles, Missouri, and competed, well, I would say all 4 years, but I did end up getting hurt in college. So I had to take my sophomore year off because I did end up tearing my Achilles, but I did end up competing all 4 years as a competitive gymnast in college and ended up winning 2 national titles, 3 conference championship titles. And I beat the odds. I did what people told me that I would never do. So
That's wild too, because and it really proves the point that like as long as you believe in yourself, it doesn't fucking matter what anybody else says. Even like the people in your like your parents, your sisters, your doctors, your coaches all saying like, "Hey, you shouldn't do this. You should probably take it easy." And you were like, "No, I believe that I can do this." And your belief literally took you to work as hard as you fucking possibly could and brought you that.
yeah,
So cool. That's so cool.
thank
And
you.
that's exactly why you do what you do today, right?
Exactly. So, um, kind of like you had mentioned is originally I thought I wanted to be a doctor. So all the way through school, had my sights set on being a doctor, got my degree in cellular molecular biology. Yes, I am that big of a nerd and I love it. It's my favorite.
She's more nerdy than me, and I like that.
It's fun. It's fun to have that like level of knowledge, and every once in a while you bring it out just a little
She
bit.
just throws out these words, and you're like, right.
You're like, wait, you're blonde, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I know I look dumb, but I'm not, I promise.
You're blonde and you're fit. That's weird. Why are you smart?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Um, but I got into scribing after I was done because I needed clinical hours to be able to apply to med school. And as I was like getting my scribing done, getting my clinical hours done, applying to med school and things like that, I just needed something else to do. And I really missed and craved like community and like an athletic community, because no one prepares you when you're done with like collegiate sport how to transition to like everyday life. Because you go from having all of this structure and you go from having this team that you literally like blood, sweat, and tears with every single day to having nothing and no direction, no plan, no one telling you where you need to be, when you need to be anywhere. And you have to figure it all out on your own. And so I was working to obviously try to learn how to work out for normal people and eat like normal people, and found a love for fitness and nutrition, and decided, you know what, I'm going to get my personal training certification and I'm going to get into something like this. Because one, I honestly did it for myself at first because I wanted to learn how to help other athletes transition from college into like everyday life. And got the knowledge to be able to help myself first. And honestly, just had a couple people that wanted help in their transition as well, and started helping a couple people. And it was like, oh, kind of like this. I kind of got a niche for it. And so started working within the First Form app, started working in the First Form community. And the time the app came out was literally like perfect timing. That's when I started doing a lot of like personal training stuff. So started working in the First Form app with a handful of those people and helping them to transition from college athletics, and started Team BTO, started my Facebook group, and over time was still working to get my clinical hours, still had my mindset on medical school, was doing all the application stuff. And I ended up getting accepted to med school in, was it March of 2021, I think is when I ended up getting accepted to medical school. And I was set to start medical school in October of 2021. And so from the time that I got accepted to medical school to October, when I started medical school, the Team BTO community and the number of people that I was working with had tripled in size. And I was like, oh my God, okay, wow. And I went to day one of orientation of medical school and literally was sitting there. And the only thing I could think about was the people that I was working with in like people that I was already helping. And it was literally in that moment that I recognized why I was doing what I was doing. I had recognized that I had created a community of people to provide people with support when they were going through the hardest times in their life. Because I had gone through the deepest, darkest moments of my life by myself, and I had refused to let anybody go through that exact same thing, whether it is they are 100 pounds overweight and they're trying to create lifestyle changes, whether it's they're coming off of collegiate athletics and they don't have an identity anymore and they're trying to find that identity, whether it's they're a mom that's postpartum and they have lost themselves because they don't know who they are anymore other than a mom, and learning how to create a life that they are proud of, but have the support to be able to do that, whether it's help with fitness, whether it's help with nutrition, whether it's a little bit of tough love because they're listening to Facebook Lives, or whether it's just the fact that they have a community of people that's saying, hey, you can do it. We believe in you. And I wasn't willing to give that up. And so I literally came home from day one of medical school orientation. I remember, I think we had a group call with Kyle that day too. And you guys were all like, Kenzie is not okay. Like
Yeah. What's wrong with Kenzie? She
yeah,
doesn't seem
like
happy at
she's
all. She should be
not okay.
excited.
And it's funny because literally after that call, I asked Kyle to stay on the call and I told him I was walking away from medical school. I was walking away from medical school to honestly pursue my passion and do work with Team BTO full time. Um, and I realized in that moment, I didn't need an MD behind my name to help people to create a life that they are proud of, to provide people with the support that they needed. And I was already doing that with what I was doing in Team BTO. So walked away from medical school to do this full time and to work in the first format full time. Still couldn't give up the fact that I am just a nerd and I love education. So did end up switching from the naturopathic medicine program into the master's in clinical nutrition program and pursued that degree while I was still working in the first format because I was able to manage both at the same time. And then graduated with my master's in clinical nutrition in June of 2023. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'll be taking my board exams in June of this year to be a licensed dietitian nutritionist. So
That's so cool because I'm sure that that was one of the most difficult decisions you've probably ever made
oh
because
yeah.
like you wanted that for so fucking long, but then
Yeah.
you realize like, no, I thought that was going to be my purpose, but this is actually my purpose.
Yeah.
And you shifted it in a way where you were still getting the education. However, you were doing it in a way where like this education is going to be able to help me help more people
Yeah.
that I'm already helping.
Yeah. I think the pivotal moment for me in that was I was working to be a doctor because it was what other people expected of me, not what I wanted for myself and not what my purpose and my passion was. Because anybody who knows me, they know, yeah, I am a walking, talking nerd. Like if you get me going on some nutrition tangent, I'm probably going to give you a dissertation on something because that's the way my brain is wired.
Hmm.
But because of that level of intelligence, people just like expected me to be a doctor. I was that way in junior high, high school, through college, and that's what I thought people expected of me. And you, like you said, is walking away and making that decision to walk away from something that I thought that I wanted for 10 plus years and what I had told everybody for 10 plus years that I was going to do to pursue what people would be like, call this fitness thing was hands down the hardest decision I've ever made.
Hmm. But then it allowed you to step into your own purpose.
Yeah,
And that's fucking
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Because I think way too many people kind of fall into that where they live a life just to please other people because it's what, what they feel like they have to do.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you have to please yourself, you know?
Yeah. It was it was the hardest decision I have made, but I will say it has been the most rewarding decision I have ever made as well.
I bet.
It has allowed me to help people in so many different ways and ways that I never thought that I was going to be able to help people. And with that extra layer of education, like I said, is helping people to not have to experience the honestly 12 years of being a human pincushion only to have people continually tell them like your labs look normal, your testing looks normal. I don't know what's wrong. Well, okay, cool. We can dig a little bit deeper. There are things other than colonoscopies, than blood work that we can look at that is going to help you to identify what the heck is going on. And we can fix that. Like, obviously, yeah, I will work with your doctor because there are going to be some medications that are probably going to work a little bit better than an herbal supplement, but I can give you an herbal remedy that's also going to help to support whatever your doctor is giving you to help ensure that it's more effective
Mhm.
and to help someone find solutions and feel good for the first time in years. I got a message the other day from someone that was so excited because she like wasn't feeling bloated for the first time in 5 years. And
Yeah.
she's like, it's because you took the time to listen to me and actually figure out what was wrong. And
Hmm.
it's been incredibly rewarding and something that, well, and it's interesting because I had a team meetup in St. Louis a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
oh, it was the coolest thing on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Literally, like it was cool because I know obviously you've seen from when I literally had like 12 people to where I am
True.
now. And to be able to literally have a group of 12 people all travel from all over the United States to come hang out with me um, was an incredibly rewarding experience. But one of them had asked me, like, would you trade your experiences for anything? And I told them no, because if I hadn't gone through what I had gone through when I was 16, had I not walked away from medical school, neither of us would be sitting here because I wouldn't have the passion, or I'm not going to say I wouldn't, but I don't know that I would have the same passion for helping people in the way that I do now because I didn't go through what I went through. I didn't have people essentially give me the opportunity to create a life that I am proud of and want to be able to pay it forward to somebody else. And
Yeah.
it didn't give me, I wouldn't have my purpose and my passion had I not endured what I endured when I was 16.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we speak about it a lot, but like having your own business and building your own community, it's not easy, especially when you're also paying attention to your schooling and then also like your fitness and your nutrition and also going through still like medical things I know that you've struggled with, as
Yeah.
well as like being a wife and being a dog mom. Like, how do you, I hate the word balance, but how do you manage all of those things to be able to not quit?
It's funny, I was watching, there's someone posted something on Instagram the other day, and I know a lot of times people will say like, oh, built different, built different. And I would argue, no, I'm not built different. But there is one thing that athletics and then everything that I went through all of this that like it really does teach you to operate different.
It does.
Where it's like, as an athlete, I was taught, okay, well, if you're sore, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's broken, tape it and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally taught how to, it doesn't matter like what you're facing to keep going.
Yep.
And so to kind of answer your question, number one is like, I only know how to keep going. I only know how to move forward, whether or not I'm inching my toes forward or I'm taking full steps forward. Like I'm going to keep moving forward, whether I want to or not. But to make sure that I'm excelling in the areas of my life that I want to, um, I would say number one is having a very clearly defined goal so I understand where I'm going. Because if
Right.
I don't know where I'm going, I'm working for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So having a very clearly defined goal for obviously my relationship, for Team BTO, for what's now I call it my Optimize Your Health project, which is my medical nutrition therapy, and having very clearly defined goals for what I want for all of those. And then making sure that I allocate my time appropriately. Anybody that has seen my schedule at any point in time, like it's very systematic. I have to make sure that I am dedicating the appropriate amount of time to my husband, to my dog, to Team BTO, to my schooling, and to studying for my board exams and things like that. And taking a second and looking at number one, where is my time best spent? And honestly, eliminating things in my life where, quite frankly, I'm not needed and where my time is quite frankly not, I'm not going to say useless, but where it's not serving me and it's not serving a purpose, which is honestly one of the hardest things to do
Mm-hmm.
in anybody's journey.
Oh yeah.
We take a second to think about like when you try to lose weight, is you have to give up one aspect of your life in order to try to move forward in another aspect of your life. And so one, I would say making sure that I'm having a very clearly defined goal so that I know where I'm going and what I'm doing and what I'm working towards, because there are going to be days that I do want to quit and I want to throw in the towel. But when I know what I'm working towards, it helps me to at least continue to move forward. and taking time to actually analyze like where I'm spending my time so that I know that things I'm actually spending my time on are worth my while and that I'm not just wasting my time on things that don't serve me or people that don't serve me.
Right. It's almost like what I find a lot of people do when they start like maybe building their own business or kind of going in on their own thing is they almost just work for the sake of working, where it's almost just like busy work instead of like purposeful, like
Yeah.
productive work. There's a difference between being busy and being productive, but
Mhm.
also like where you touched on like not giving my time to things that aren't necessarily aligned with where I want to go, or not a waste, but just aren't a priority. It's the same thing for the person, like you said, who needs to just like make shifts in what their choices and decisions are throughout the day based on where their goals are with fitness. It comes down to like, no is a complete sentence, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm fucking proud of you for everything that you've accomplished since I met you. And like then hearing your story, like beyond that, it's crazy. So I need to thank you for coming on and telling us this amazing story. I know that you're going to impact a lot of people with this, and I know that you're going to continue to impact people with what you're doing. And we'll get you back on the show to talk a little bit of gut health, because I know that's a huge trending topic right now. We need to make sure people understand it, because today I actually came across somebody, little tangent, who she is a gut health coach, and I looked through her stuff and it's just her talking about gut health matters when it comes to the greens drink that she's drinking, and she has absolutely no valuable content on anything. And I'm like, you are just telling yourself you're a gut health coach and you're saying drink these because I make money, but I don't know what they do, and they probably don't do shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm always here to shed a little bit of light on gut health, women's hormones, any of those types of things. It's something that I continue to go into the woodworks on all of it every single day. So I don't
Yeah,
think
because
it
it's
makes
forever
me
changing,
go,
you know?
yeah. I love it, but I appreciate the sentiment, and it's been really cool to be able to share my story. And I hope that it is something that helps to inspire one person to just get up and to keep going, or at least to keep going. Because if there's one thing that I can, and it's something that I know that you've heard me say before, and something that I tell everybody on my team is like, look, I understand everybody's going through something right now. And whatever it is that you're going through right now, the only way to get through it is to go through it. So if you want to continue to move forward, you have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just go through it.
Damn straight. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end it. Guys, go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.